I have pretty much every single support at E2. So E2 Bubin, E2 Rame, Sparkle, E2 Silwolf, not E2 Jiao Qiu, because unfortunately he's a dude. I'm sorry, it is what it is, and I don't really care about the DOT that much. Subscribe! Hey guys, MrPokke here, back with another video, and after more than 1 year, in fact almost 2 years, I am now finally going to review my own Honkai Starbucks account. The myth, the legend, the elusive, relatable account. What exactly do I have in my own account? How truly unrelatable I really am? And what are some of the secret relics or Eidolons that I have that makes me really, I guess in this sense, enjoy Honkai Starbucks, right? So without further ado, let's get into today's content. By the time you guys see this video, I will probably still be at war. And I figure out that a lot of you guys were interested in how does MrPokke's own account actually looks like in Honkai Starbucks after doing, at this point, I feel like I've done like more than 200-300 account reviews ever since I started playing Honkai Starbucks. I think I know what I'm talking about when it comes to a general sense of what to look out for in a account, right? So before we get into it, I kind of want to set the criteria first. I actually don't find myself enjoying the power or like the damage on my screen whenever I use this E6S5 Aircraft. The context is the reason why we got this E6S5 Aircraft was because one day YouTube orders came in and gave me like $1,000 to just spend it and just get an E6 Aircraft. Making this my first ever E6. Shout out to my chat, shout out to my community. Thank you so much for getting this E6S5. As well as the fact that our Firefly, we also got it in the exact same way, which is pretty much one of our Sabaton goals back in May, where I allowed my chat to E6S5 any character they wish for. Instead for Aircron and decided for Firefly. So here we are. Every other character I have, not a single one is E6. These two are the only E6 S5 characters I have in my entire account, and both of which is not due to my own temptations, my own desire to really get to the E6, right? For me personally, I prefer to just get every single account in Honkai Starbucks. Some of them having especially useful Eidolons, I will also get them. Because it basically boils down to this. I rather have a variety of team comps, a variety of different units, which allows me to, play with a lot more archetypes instead of just focusing down and locking onto a single unit. Which is why, in my opinion, pulling for E6S5, it really is just for, first of all, my community's wants. And second of all, I guess it's a lot of quality of life, which means if I want to go ahead, I want to farm relics, I want to farm domains, I want to farm Sim the Universe, I just want a full auto and just get it done in like 10 seconds, then this E6S5 Aircron or Firefly, it really helped out a lot there, right? Other than that, you will probably never ever find me getting a E6S5 ever again, or even E6S1. At most, or rather hopefully, all of my units will be staying at a relatively within the E0 S1 range, between E0 to E2 as well as the S1, right? So that's how I'll be going about investing in my units going forward. I do find myself having a lot of fun when it comes to these kind of investments. Of course, spend responsibly. This is a gacha game. Please do not go into debt playing this. I'm making money by playing this game, by streaming, by making YouTube videos. So I am quite literally getting content. I'm getting what I'm paying for, right? If you guys are just playing this because of entertainment, do consider twice before you sink a significant amount of your income in Honkai Starbucks. Because to be frank, the pools in Honkai Starbucks are not cheap. It's basically $100 for 50 pools, right? So you kind of figure it out as you will, right? So that is going to be that for my Eidolons and going forward and how I decide to pool for my units. I do want to say this one thing, which is there are 2 units that I currently do not have in my library, and only 2, which is essentially going to be Jade as well as Yunli. Jade, I'm going to keep it about. I don't really give a shit. I don't really care if I didn't get her. Yunli is pretty much the only unit that I regret not getting, because her counter playstyle is honestly very refreshing, and it brings about a different team building process as well as the mechanics when it comes to using Yunli compared to your break team, your follow-up team, or even your Aircron's hyper carrier. So I really like her, but unfortunately I didn't get it. The reason why for these 2 is because they were around the time where Zenless Zone 0 just came out. So I was quite locked out from Honkai Starbucks back then. But now, if they were to ever get a rerun, I'll just junk up a copy and just move from there, right? So that's the only 2 units I do not have on my account. Every other unit I pretty much gotten them, as well as the fact that I raised them. Mose, unfortunately, I haven't gotten around to raising him, I believe. Yeah, Mose, I didn't really get around to raise him, and the reason why is because of this right here. I found myself using Hun March 7th almost every single time whenever I think of using a scenario without Topaz. I just feel that she's really comfortable to use. She's very skill point positive, and she allows me to pivot into my E4 Bronya for face out specifically, and I find this really nice. Mose, on the other hand, I've mentioned in my earlier access server video for Mose, he does have a target swapping problem, which is if the target dies, you need to apply your skill again, and he is essentially skill point neutral. Alright, so I didn't really find him that nice. Also, because he's a dude, so it is what it is. Yep, the only 3 units that are still not level 70 are Misha, Danheng, and Mose. Right, everyone else above level 70. These 2 I'm probably never using them ever again, and every single other unit I have in Honkai Star, they're all raised up to level 80, and most of them I believe do have their tracers as well, but we'll go about them a little bit later. Right, well, let's just first take a look at my Eidolons after I just went through my entire collection of the units I have. So Akron, E6 as I explained just now, Kafka is going to be at an E2, and Black Swan is going to be at E1. I pulled for these 2 specifically back when DOT first came out, because I really hope that in the future, if MiHoYo were to release future DOT units, then I can use them as a foundation or the benchmark for my DOT archetype. Unfortunately, MiHoYo has not released any DOT unit for a long time now. So now I'm just basically just begin chilling. I feel like E2 Kafka and E1 Black Swan, they are both really strong in their own right. So this is a 25% res pen, and this is going to be a DOT damage by 25%, as well as the damage taken increased by 30%, right? So DOT vulnerability and 25. So these are all pretty decent for generic DOT Eidolons. So not too much of regret there, it's just that not too much playtime for DOT specifically, right? Ranmei. Okay, you guys probably won't believe this, but when I was pulling for E0 Ranmei, I did not want this E2. In fact, I was pulling for a 4-star back on her banner. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was Xueyi or something. I was trying to go for a 4-star, and then MiHoYo just gave me 2 Ranmeis back to back. So there's a story of how I got my E2 Ranmei. I didn't even want it, right? It is what it is, but looking in hindsight, this E1 is absolutely diabolical. This E2, frankly speaking, is not that important, because nowadays Ranmei has more or less become, you know, dedicated to a break support, and this 40% attack, it honestly changes nothing. For boot heal, for wrap up, doesn't really matter. The only one is really just Firefly, and my Firefly is E6, so she doesn't really care about this 40% attack as well. If you do give her to like any sort of hyper carry, follow-up DOT, this will definitely still be a little bit more impactful, but for break teams specifically, like Super Break, this is really not that important of an item to have. And nowadays, whenever I want to use DOT follow-up hyper carry, I'm always using Bubbit, which I'll go on a little bit later, right? So that is basically that gonna be for my Ranmei. Fei Xiao for my E2. Unfortunately, I also got extremely lucky for Fei Xiao. This was basically back when I did my Fei Xiao pools for Zetion as well as my own account. I essentially won 10 50-50s back to back. That's basically it, right? So luckily for me, I did manage to get an E2 Fei Xiao, which honestly speaking is a very nice item to have. No regrets whatsoever. 1 stack instead of half a stack whenever we do a follow-up, and it also pivots us for any future follow-up team comps. So aside from Bobbin, aside from Topaz, aside from Mark 7, we can also use units like E4 Bronya, which is very nice. And future units, we have any more follow-ups, then Fei Xiao is going to be kicking in a very solid drive with this E2, right? So I really like this E2, so that's going to be there. Then when in fact, any of my sustains, they are pretty much all going to be at E0 except for Lingsha. My Huan, Fuxuan, my Aventurine, and my Luocha, they are all at E0 S0. I didn't get any of their signature weapons. I got an S5 Japart purely from pulling a standard banner, so that's absolutely fucking insane. Fusion, I did get an S1 because I got a lucky 10 pull and I just got it lucky back then, so that was basically it. But I don't really invest a lot of resources into my sustains in terms of their Eidolon and Lycones, because most of the time I do find joy in doing this kind of 0 cycles challenges to myself, so I don't really find the value of a sustain for my own personal account. But of course, if you're having difficulty surviving the endgame content, you're dying too frequently, having an E1 Huan Huan, E1 Adventuring, E1 Fuxuan, or even E2 Fuxuan, E2 Huan Huan, they can be very beneficial for your overall comp. It's just for me, I don't really value the sustain that much, right? So that is gonna be that for my Huan Huan. And then this is gonna be one of my first Eidolon 2s. Wait, let me think. Is this my first Eidolon 2? It was Scylla, Qingyuan, Zero Wolf, Luocha, Blade. Oh no, Kafka was my first Eidolon 2. Yeah, Kafka was my first Eidolon 2. Then this was followed by Dale, right? But I would say E2 Dale has been a benchmark, a cornerstone, a foundation of my life since starting my career as a Honkai Starbucks content creator. And in fact, I even have an oiler called E2 Tail, which is my rank 1 oiler right now, who has given me well over 2,000 subs, which is absolutely fucking insane. So I have absolutely zero regrets putting him. He reminds me of the overpowered character in any CN games, and me being a CN player myself. Then this is gonna be a reminiscent of my tradition, my culture. Right? So Guo Wang E2, absolutely zero regrets. One of, if not the best E2 I have, and we can still make him work nowadays with our Super Deal, right? Super E2, honestly, very nice. So excellent E2. Boot Hill gonna be at an E0S1. Also, I will just admit that for myself personally, when he first released, I did not think too highly of Boot Hill. I'm just keeping it back because we already know that Firefly was coming out, and between Boot and Firefly, Firefly was just the overall more comfortable character to play with, right? At E0 to E0, if you want to just have an easier time bringing the targets, Rame, Harmony Trailblazer, Firefly Team Con was just very fluid and flexible and easy to use. Whereas Boot Hill, you need to master your pocket trick shots. So at the beginning of the game, I was not very comfortable with using the pocket trick shot. For example, if you skill pocket trick shot twice, if you break an enemy with Pella, and then you can skill again. It's just this kind of like small things, and you need to know when it's ultimate, who do you basic attack, what kind of stuff. So it is just more demanding in terms of your mechanics, as well as the fact that he is a lot more reliant on your speed, right? A proper Boot Hill ready is probably going to be a 4-piece ego set, which my gears are all over the place. I'll just change them later on, which is also not something that most players have access to, especially if you do not farm the ego 4-piece, right? Which most players probably don't, just because it's quite inefficient if you want to farm the ice domain. But yep, that's going to be Boot Hill. Nowadays, I've come to find myself enjoying him a lot nowadays, right? He's very comfortable, excellent zero cycle character, very high toughness bar damage, in fact, nuke damage, probably even higher than Firefly at E0, or even comparable to Repa, or even higher than Repa. So excellent unit once we got the hang of it. Right? Wait, just real quick, Cylinder Light Cones, S5, got the S1, Almost every single unit you see here, they will probably have their S1s. Support's not that much. I do have a lot of Duns, which is lying around, but for every single DPS, you're probably going to see me getting their S1s, right? For DPS, almost all the S1s. For sports, not so much. Babin, alright, this is the unit that changed Honkai Starbucks, and in my opinion, she is still by far the strongest support in the entire game. I have pretty much every single support at E2, so E2 Babin, E2 Rame, E2 Sparkle, E2 Silverwolf, not E2 Jiao Qiu, because unfortunately he's a dude. I'm sorry, it is what it is, and I don't really care about the DOT that much. But pretty much every single support, I've gotten them at E2, and I would say that by far, this E2 is the strongest E2 out of every single support. And in fact, even if you take away the E2, E0 Babin is still the best in terms of fast clears in Honkai Starbucks. If you really care about the competitive scene, right? If you want to do zero cycles or even zero cycle Apocalypse Shadows, all that kind of stuff, Babin is gonna be the support for you. And 24% rest pen, additional energy, and 60% speed. This is gonna be very nice because it allows us to pivot into a attack rope, because you would have enough damage to just use the ultimate one time and kill everybody, and the additional energy also allows you to get ultimate very early on, right? Which you will see from my previous Apocalypse Shadow Challenge video, right? So this is gonna be my Babin. I'll show the variants a little bit later, but this is just gonna be E2. And Argenti, unfortunately, this is gonna be an E0S1. Most of my DPS, unless I really like them, they are gonna be staying at E0S1, right? So you can see Jing Liu is gonna be E0S1, Jing Yuan is gonna be E0S1, Blade's gonna be E0. So a lot of my DPS, they're all at E0S1, unless I really like their designs. So that aside, back to Argenti, I pulled him basically essentially because back then I was still just starting with Honkai Starbucks, and I just want to play every single character, and I just want to get a hang of it, and we didn't really have creator experience back then, so I just pulled him just for him to use him. Frankly speaking, nowadays I have found myself... Oh, that's not too bad. I found myself not using him for a long time now. Most of the time, I'm just using like follow-up, break, Akron, Repa, all the new units that are coming out. So I don't really see a usage for Argenti. So it is what it is. Didn't really max out a whole lot as well. But yeah, in pure friction, I also find myself using other team comps. But yeah, I think he's still generally not too bad of a unit. If you put him, I don't think you have too much regret. But it is what it is. That's just going to be for my own account, right? Clara, my E1. Unfortunately, I'm just not too lucky with the Clara dupes, because Clara's E2 and E6, they are extremely strong, but I'm just not too lucky, I guess. I'll show you guys my very first E6 standard unit a little bit more in the future. But yeah, I really like Clara in terms of the counter mechanic, which is why a little bit, quite regretful that I didn't really get Uni for my own account. Because especially you guys have seen from the PvP back in the days, Clara is an excellent contender for Honkai Starbucks PvP, just because the damage is so high, and she's not that reliant on her teammates. You can kind of make her work with almost everybody. You have Ting Yun, and nowadays Ting Yun is also not that popular of a pick unless you have units like Clara or Yun Li, right? So very good choice, especially if you play PvP in Honkai Starbucks, but that's going to be for me at E1. Right, Firefly EZS5, not too much to talk about. Sabaton goes. Thank you guys so much. This Golden bitch. probably took, I think I took like 1,200 pools or some shit to get this E6 which is the most amount of money I've ever spent in a single gacha game for a single unit, right? So this bitch is too much of my money, right? Alright, let's move on. Okay, Lingsha is going to be my first ever sustain that I put a signature weapon as well as an island. Because the way I see Lingsha, I don't really see her as a sustain. I see her more like a support slash DPS slash sustain hybrid. Somewhat similar to sustain Bobbin or a sustain Rame, if you want to take a look that way. Because she deals such a ridiculous amount of damage for herself. And this 20% defense down with the 50% witness break efficiency is very, very, very good in terms of overall damage output. And generally speaking, when I'm pulling for an Eidolon, I'm always looking for not just damage output, but also what kind of utility can you provide to beyond just yourself, right? So utilities such as E2 Bobbin, E2 Sparkle, E2 Rame, they are all very, very good utility. Or even the DOTs, they have good utility for the entire team archetype, right? So Lingsha, in my opinion, if we are going to be running break teams in the future, this is going to be by far the best sustain that we're going to have for a very, very long time. Unless MiHoYo wants to power creep a break support, which, a break sustain, which I hopefully hope that they don't do so soon because we just got her for like 2 patches. But yeah, no regrets whatsoever. She's very, very nice to use. This is an absolutely ridiculous light cone as well as a ridiculous E1. So absolutely the best, and is a much better upgrade compared to E6 category once you do have the E1 S1, right? Check out my early access if you want to know more. So that's gonna be that. Jiaoqiu E0S1. I got this ninja light cone not because I wanted it. I just got lucky on a 10 pool and I just kind of got it again. By my opinion, this also is a very, very nice light cone. But initially, I didn't want to pull Jiaoqiu in the first place. But before his banner went away, I'm kind of locking back into Honkai Starbucks again. Then I'm thinking to myself, okay, I should just get every single character anyways, since I'm picking up intros in Honkai Starbucks again when Zen Zone 0 is slowly trying to like chill a little bit. And that's why I got him. No regrets whatsoever. Running the Eagle 4-piece. Very, very, very nice support for our Aircron, which honestly, in my opinion, I say this like 1,000 times, Jiaoqiu is pretty much only best in slot for an Aircron build. You can use him for other teams. You can use it for Yunli, you can use it for Argenti, you can use it for Duty, you can use it for anything you want. But best in slot, in my opinion, is still going to be Aircron. And I find it very hard to kind of use him in a situation where I would rather use him over, like, for example, Bobbin or even like Ranmei for a lot of scenarios. Like maybe for some very niche 0 cycles where you take out the sustain and slot in another amplifier, then I think Jiaoqiu could be pretty good because 50% vulnerability is absolutely fucking insane. This can definitely be doable if you're doing sustainless, but generally most of the time I don't really see myself using him that much unless we are going to be going for a strictly Aircron team comp, right? So that's going to be my Jiaoqiu at E0S1. Then now Topaz is going to be E2S1. This is going to be the S1 is going to be with my March 7th. But yeah, Topaz is my first ever double 5-star 10 pool in Honkai Starbucks. I only wanted to pull a little bit more, and eventually I got a double Topaz in a single 10 pool. So here I am today. Honestly, also no regrets. I think we've come to know by now, E1 S1 Topaz is an extremely versatile character that can go with a lot of follow-up team comps. You can run it with, actually, now that I think about it, the best in slot is just probably going to be Face Out and Robin. So, yeah, but if you do have the E1 S1, she is going to be an excellent support slash sub DPS for our Face Out. I did mention in my top 10 overrated character, she is bottom line number 10, and I still stand by this, by the way, at E0, because I still find myself preferring to use Hunt March 7th over my E2 S1 Topaz, especially if the enemy is not weak to fire. Because if the enemy is not weak to fire, I would rather just deal more toughness bar damage and get their toughness bar down as much as possible, especially for a content like a Pokke Grade Shadows, which is very, very important to get your toughness bar down. So having March 7's passive to match your main DPS is very, very useful. So I actually did in fact use March 7 more than I would use my E2 S1 Topaz, which leads me to believe I don't really see players desperately needing a Topaz. I really don't think she is like the god of all units, even at E0. But that's just me. Maybe this could start a war, but that's going to be my personal experience from owning a E2 S1 Topaz, right? So, yeah, that's going to be that. Moving on, Himeko, this is going to be an E2. Not too much to be said over here. Essentially, Himeko, in my opinion, you'll only ever use her in a 5-week stage, and I only use her in a Super Week team comp, right? Because if you're not 5-week, I won't use Himeko, and if it is 5-week, I'll use Super Week. So nowadays, my Himeko build is essentially just Super Week. I have no idea what the hell this is here, but yep, only Super Week. only Super Break. I did manage to get myself an S4 Knight of the Milky Way, so pretty good at pure vision. But for Super Break, honestly, this is pretty fucking useless, so not too much to say over here as well, right? Jingliu E0S1, back in the days when she first came out, frankly speaking, she was the unit, right? This was my unit that I managed to 0 cycle Memory of Chaos using a level 40 Jingliu, which was crazy back then. To be fair, HP was also a lot lesser, but taking a look at our older units, it really made me realize that how much stronger our recent units have become nowadays, right? So, yep, Jingliu, extremely high damage, but nowadays she has, unfortunately, fell off. Multipliers are not good enough, doesn't really scale, doesn't really have a very synergistic team comp to keep her up with Super Break as well as follow-up, as well as even Aircron. So, it is what it is, no regrets, had my fun while I was using her, right? I don't want to talk about it. There are 2 Memory of Chaos 0 cycles I did with Yanqing. And both of these videos, they did exceptionally well on my channel. One is, I think, my top 5 most watched videos of all time, which is Return of the King, with him in the Gojo. So, you know what? All things considered, shout out to Yan King. You did a huge help for my YouTube channel, right? Yippee! Japart, frankly speaking, I have not used him for a long ass time. I don't think I've used him ever since 2.0. Before 2.0, sometimes I used him here and there because we didn't have a lot of sustains. I just kind of testing waters, and I did find myself preferring the shield is very nice, quite comfortable, and a taunt video allows me to absorb all of the aggro without my other teammates getting CC, right? So not too bad last time, but nowadays I just don't really use him ever again, so it is what it is. Same thing for Bailu. I did use her a little bit back in the early start of the game, honestly quite nice, but nowadays same thing as your part, just don't really use it that much anymore. But speaking of Bailu, subscribe to this channel right now. Subscribe to this channel right now, right? Absolutely. Alrighty, Ding Yuan. First of all, he's on the Super Break setup because we were trying out Super Break Jingyuan, which honestly, it was okay. It was okay. But Jingyuan, in my opinion, he also kind of started my YouTube career. Looking back at it, because my first video that quote-unquote went viral was my CN unit analysis 1 on Jingyuan. That was my first ever unit because I weren't that popular back then. My first guide on Scylla, I didn't even make a guide for Scylla back then, right? So until after Jingyuan, because I was still fucking around and just starting out my career in Honkai Starbucks. And then I made a video about CM players' issues with Jingyuan, which got picked up by Tectone, and everyone go hoo-ha, oh my god, I'm the Jingyuan hater, all that kind of stuff, when it literally is just like the CM community, right? So very long history with Jingyuan. Honestly, I have nothing against him. He has his flaws, which I think is just kind of annoying. But if in the future we have summon meta and something can alleviate his flaws, I think in my opinion he's going to be very good. And I honestly can see myself using him religiously once again, right? So let's go on. Blade, same thing, E0S1. He also gave me quite a bit of fun back in the days, especially for a couple of 0 cycles like that. And we did do his Blade 0 cycle, I think like at least twice by now, with Blade, Sparkle, Bronya, and Ranmei, which is the team that Gacha Smack just refuses to back down on, and thinking that Sparkle and Bronya is a horrible combination, which honestly is not the case, as long as you... Okay, I'm not gonna go down the road again, but if you can make it work, you make it work. And for my account, I think my E0S1 Blade is honestly popping the fuck off. I'll change the gears a little bit because it's just all over the place right now, but yep, that's gonna be my E0S1. Hopefully one day we get more supports for a HP damage dealer, but it is what it is. Alright, Bronya. I actually did manage to get this E4, I think on Rare Pass banner. And this is a very nice item to have for a Phase Shell user. This allows us to proc very frequently for a Phase Shell, especially with an E2 Phase Shell. And if you are running her with a weakness, and at this point, in my opinion anyways, E4 Bronya with Hanmar 7 and Bobbin allow me to pretty much clear any content effortlessly. You can kind of say I replaced my Adventuring with my E4 Bronya. I have no idea what people are saying. Sarah, I'm looking at you. I still have skill point issues with my E4 Bronya. You have seen from my Apocalypse Shadow Clear just now, I still have skill point issues because this thing just fucking refuses to proc. Don't be fooled. You're definitely gonna have skill point issues when you run Phase Shell Bronya. It is not a replacement. It is not a strictly better upgrade. But when it comes to the raw damage and the amount of damage you can deal, especially the E4 with your E2 Phase Shell, I think it can be worth it, especially if this thing actually triggers. If it doesn't trigger, then one bomb, you just have to basic attack here and there, right? So it is what it is. I find myself using my Bronya quite frequently as well because I started to use outside team comps such as Boot Hill, which in my opinion works very well with Bronya because of the speed tuning. And any units that requires strict speed tuning where you want all of the extra value you can get, I would prefer to use Bronya over Sparkle because it's 100% over 50%, right? So for this kind of very niche scenarios. Other than that, for general purpose, I would probably still use Sparkle, so like E6 Aircron, Yun Li, if I ever have a Yun Li. In Biblical Rune, right, I will still use Sparkle. Jing Liu Blade, honestly, I will still use Sparkle. But if I want strict speed tuning, I will still go ahead and run the Bronya. Alright, so that's going to be that. And my Bronya, I have a 1S1 and 1S5 copy. So I'm just gonna leave it there as it is. I don't really have too much to say about it, right? This S5 light cone honestly is quite comfortable because the energy regeneration is very, very nice. And sometimes I'll actually just use a random rope just for the highest speed possible for the speed tuning, right? So it's good enough. All right, sparkle. This sparkle is gonna be at a E2. I really, really like this E2 sparkle. I find myself using her quite frequently. Almost all of my zero cycle clears in the last Memory of Chaos, if you've seen my previous videos, they were almost exclusively done with E1 Robin, E2 Sparkle, and Ting Yun, which is crazy, right? With your Scylla, with your Qingque, with Clara, every single one I've done with the same trade. This is 24% defense down with the additional 40% attack, plus our only inherent kit. I think it is still one of, if not the strongest hyper carry supports that we have in the game right now. Especially if you do have her at E2. I did not get her S1 because, in my honest opinion, I find myself running Dungeons a lot more frequently, and I prefer this a lot more than the signature weapon, right? Most people running signature weapon, it is probably for the 10% crit rate, in which that case, just get better gears, right? You cannot replace the 24% extra value, but you can, in fact, improve the 10% crit rate, right? So that's gonna be my sparkle. I kind of like her. It's pretty good. All right, Fu Xuan E0 as well. Honestly, nothing too much to talk about. I also have not used Fu Xuan for a pretty long time, unless in Similar Universe, which I also have been using Aventurine. So also did not use Fu Xuan for a good amount of time, right? For sustains, generally speaking, we just do some random challenges here and there. Maybe I use Fu Xuan, maybe not. Essentially, she's gonna be there to survive. Not too much to say about it. It is what it is. All right. Scylla. I really like to revisit this character because it really allows me to limit test my own account to do a zero cycle for Memory of Chaos 12, especially if we are doing some sort of fun challenges, right? Because this is the 1.0 DPS, and your Scylla ceiling, that I've mentioned in my previous video, I'm not sure when this video is going to go up, but in my opinion, your Scylla's investment ceiling in terms of vertical investment, it is based on your Eidolons of your supports, not just your relics. Of course, you need to have relics. A good relic, right? This is going to be my 4-piece quantum, which is absolutely fucking diabolical, if I can say so myself, right? It's a 5-row, 3-row. This is a tie 2-row, and this is going to be a 3-row over here. And then for my quantum, 2-piece over here, this is going to be a 2-row. Not that great. And then we have another decent-ish 3-row, right? So it's essentially sitting at around 90% crit rate, 190 crit damage, 3k attack, right? Even that, I would say that if you just have an E0 S1 Scylla with no Eidolons, with this amount of good rolls, it will still not be good enough. You do need the Eidolons nowadays, your E2 Sparkle, your E2 Robin, to make her really pop off. Not to say that Scylla is useless, but if you're able to make her trigger resurgence and all that kind of stuff, she's just as useful as our other DPS, right? So that's gonna be there for Scylla. And then now we're gonna move on to our last quantum unit, which is gonna be our Silver Wolf. I have found myself using her more in Apocalyptic Shadows, or if I really want that weakness implant, which is not going to be in the break team, because I still want to experiment with this kind of niche teams that are not follow-up and super break, right? If I would use Qingque, if I were to use any like weakness implant mechanic, I want to force a weakness, I would still run Silver Wolf. I think Silver Wolf, for me personally, I like her value on my account because I don't want to play the same team over and over again, and having this is quite nice. And not to mention, her weakness break efficiency is honestly very, very nice once you get this Eidolon 1, which is basically guaranteed a 1-turn ultimate. Very, very comfortable. Also, this light cone is probably my biggest regret ever. I don't think I've used this light cone for a very, very, very long time. It's always either resolution or pros, right? So if I can refund one light cone, it's gonna be this one, right? The fact that it only lasts 1 turn and it's after you hit the target is really just not that great. I also don't know why we have a 12% crit rate, right? So it is what it is. Let's just move on. Boom. Harmony MC, same old build, 161 speed. Same thing I use for all of my drill cycles. Not too much to say over here. 4-piece not maker, so that's gonna be that. Done and done. I did find myself preferring the Duns plus the energy regeneration rope over the Memory of the Past into a break effect, which was the old build where I ran more break damage. Right nowadays, I just want ER to spam Duns. Right, this is just so good on Harmony MC, so that's gonna be that. Wrap up, brand new unit 152. Just showcase her on Apoc Shadows E0S1. Not too much to say. So we're just gonna move on here. Doctor ratio. I do believe that it has been a very long time since we have seen a good amount of usage ever since his hyper carry days, right? Back in the days, we did a hyper carry doctor ratio team in Pella and like a Bronya or Sparkle. Very, very nice. Nowadays, because of Facial, I just don't really find a role that I will ever use him over Facial in a follow-up team comp. Maybe if we want to do some specific niche Doctor Ratio hyper carry, we could run like a Doctor Ratio Silver Wolf Ting Yun Robin, right? Maybe we could do something like this and do a zero cycle. Maybe one day I'll try again. But for now, this E0S1 has not been used for a pretty long time. Right? He's pretty dusty, right? Aventurine. I feel like he is my second most used sustain, aside from Lingsha. and then just slightly above Huan Huan. He's does so much damage in the Fei Xiao Robin team comp. And his sustain is very, very nice in difficult endgame content for Simulated Universe. So in my opinion, I think Adventuring is an excellent unit. 59 crit rate, 172 crit damage, 135 speed, 4,000 defense. Everything is pretty much there. So, not much to say, I'm quite happy with my Adventuring at E0, S0. Honestly, if you got an E1, not too crazy. You don't really care about it that much, just 20% crit damage. This E2 is very nice though. 12% res pen. The signature Lycon is very, very good as well because it gives you another debuff. But I'm quite content with just each part of S5. So let's give that. Luocha, I don't really think there's much to say. Legit have not used him for like 5,000 years. Maybe one day we'll do a 1.0 challenge, but for now, not too much to say. Now, Welt. Welt was my first ever standard E6. In fact, he was the first unit that I used my 300 selector on, right? He was him. And we had this huge war back in the days with the Jingyuan mains where I said Welt is better than Jingyuan. And then we all got on the war, like blah, 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 blah. No regrets, by the way. I think Welt, it has come for a very, very long time. Nowadays, I don't really know what people use him for, but I guarantee you guys at E6, doing a DPS Welt is completely 100% doable. You have seen my DPS Welt showcase before back then with 0 cycles to the Kafka stage, so I don't really need to repeat myself, but I just think it's so cool. I don't play Honkai Back 3. I think it's an excellent unit. Very, very energy efficient. We're getting like 1 to 2 turn ultimates, especially with Tingyu and Sparkle. Very nice. And not to mention, he works extremely well with my Akron S5 Lycon, right? This is excellent for my E6 DPS Welt, right? I only exclusively play him on the DPS. Nowadays, I'm also just not using that much anymore, so it is what it is. Alright, so that's basically all of my 5-star Eidolons. All of my 4 stars, they are pretty much all E6, and I'm pretty sure I use all of them for the most part. In terms of supports, right? Actually, I take it back. I mainly just use Pella, Tingyun, sometimes Qingque for goofy ass 0 cycles, and Han March 7th. Every other 4-star, I don't think I've used for at least 3 months by now. Maybe I used Hook recently for the Hyper Hook. Might use Yukong here and there for 0 cycle with Ibn Lune. But, oh, Gallagher, before we benched him for Lingsha, right? But nowadays, if we were to build 2 break teams, I think he's still going to see a very nice use. So, out of all the 4 stars, in my opinion, Gallagher, Pella, Tingyun, and Harmat 7, these 4 are pretty much going to be the most common 4-star use. Every other 4-star is not that useful for me, at least for my own account, right? So, yep, that is gonna be every single one of my units and pretty much every single one of my signature weapon. I don't want to yet bond for too long. I'll just show some of my important stats for some of my important units, right? Aircron, 68 crit rate, 233 crit damage. I think I moved the gears a little bit here and there. Yeah, something like this. So this is sitting at around with the additional 18 plus 12, that's going to be 30 and 34 crit rate. This is roughly 91.9 crit rate to 264, which is, in my opinion, I think it's a pretty good Aircron with 135 speed as well. In case you want to use her with Bubbin, then I want to hit the 135 speed, right? So very specific thresholds I'm hitting with 135 speed. If we don't really care about 135, I can just switch this to attack to look something like this for a little bit more crit damage. Generally speaking, this E6S5, I don't really care about the relics that much because I haven't used it for a 0 cycle for a very, very long time. So that is just going to be it for my Aircron. Kafka and Black Swan, haven't used them for a while as well. In fact, my gears are all over the place. The last time I used them was going to be the Simulated Universe. And for that, I use 4-piece Ego for everybody, as well as the HP Sphere. But generally speaking, just 4-piece DOT and 2-piece Glamorph. Haven't updated their relics for a very, very long time. My Black Swan is faster than my Kafka nowadays because I want to apply the defense down, and then my Kafka can go ahead and trigger her all her stuff, right? And then my Sustain is going to be the fastest to trigger Kafka's base attack. So Sustain, Black Swan, Kafka, and then Rame here and there to apply the debuff, or sorry, to apply the buff, or Robin to apply the buff, whichever one it is going to be, right? So DOT not updated for a long time, right? Rame is still going to be my exact same slow Rame build. I change here and there depending on the scenario. Yep. If I want break effect, it will be something like this. So it will be a 121 speed, 266 break effect. It used to be close to 300%, but I deleted my relics because of a Sabaton, so it is what it is. Nowadays, I'm just rocking something like this to hit the necessary speed that I need. Just for the tankiness as well. You can see that my Rami is also very beefy at 5.8k HP, so she is no danger close to diamond whatsoever. Maxed out tracers as well. Alright, all my tracers are pretty much more or less maxed out. Didn't really max out Black Swan's ultimate because don't really find myself using her that much. Maybe I'll invest in it one day eventually, right? But that's gonna be that. And then Fei Xiao, like I mentioned, speed boots or attack boots. I found myself liking the attack boots quite a bit because I just do so much more damage with the additional 43% attack. If I really want to use speed boots, I definitely still can. And it will look something like this, which is a little bit over on crit rate, but who cares? As long as it crits, I'm good enough, right? The crit damage, honestly, 10% doesn't really matter at the grand scheme of things. I really, really like Fei Xiao. I love her design. I love everything about her. She's a muscle mommy. Favorite unit so far. One of my DVDs. She's a goat. Quite happy with her build. 4-piece Quantum because I have no better relics to use, right? If I have a 4-piece Valerius, I'm still working on it, but for now, this is going to be a best in slot set, best DPS set for any crit DPS. If you guys see me using a crit DPS, you're probably going to be seeing this exact same 4-piece Quantum, right? This has been with me since the start of time. I've not changed this for a very, very long time. I've not found Quantum for a very long time. It has been like this for a while, right? So it is what it is. The builds are just, yeah, kind of all over the place. Yeah, just for the 2+2. If I really want more speed, I can get more speed. ER always. Either Broken Kill or maybe some 2-piece Luxasha for the energy generation. This one, I typically tend to run either Pulse Up or Crit Pokke. I try to run Crit Pokke for almost all of my abundance sustains just because the sustain energy is just so nice. But aside from that, I don't really care about my supports or rather sustains build too much. As long as they sustain, as long as they're fast enough, they can get the job done, right? I only maxed out the ultimate because these two I have no problem sustaining whatsoever. So that's why I didn't really max them out, right? So that's that. In Build Rene, this build is just whenever I want to use him, I just steal this, right? Hobby, pace, and I have the imaginary damage sphere from March 7th, I believe. Yep, I just steal this from March 7 and then we're done, right? So very straightforward as that. Boot Hill is the 4-piece ego set. So typically I run something like this, right? 154 speed, 49 crit rate, 97 crit damage, 218 break effect. That's pretty much it. I just specifically want to hit the speed threshold so that we can get an effective 200 speed in battle. That is it. So not too much to say about. If I can get a little bit more subsets, that'll be good. But I don't really care too much about ego as long as I got the speed, right? So that's gonna be that. Cooldown. Robin, I've set the build. I'm running attack sphere. Sorry, I'm running attack rope with physical damage because I find myself just killing everything in one single ultimate. If I really need the ultimate, but now follow-ups I do, I can really pop off another one regardless if I have the energy or attack rope, right? So not too crazy. This speed specifically, I found myself using Robin with a little bit more speed. Because for Zero Cycle specifically, if I want to run a Robin plus Sparkle, I will want my Sparkle to speed up my Robin to go Robin into Robin again. So for that to happen, I need to have some speed, alright? So sometimes I might even use Von Whack 2-piece, but it really depends on the Zero Cycle I'm doing for. If it doesn't need it, then I don't need it, right? So it's a little bit more flexible. Argenti, same shit. If I want to use a crit DPS, slap this, Argenti, boom, done. I do have another crit DPS build, which is going to be on March 7th right here. This is my alternative mixed rainbow with excellent stuff. This is a 4, 5. Sorry, this is a 4 as well. This is a 3 and this is a 5, right? So on average, it's a 4 roll on every single one of the 4-piece, which is my go-to set if I want to do a rainbow piece, right? For my speed boots, I have one rainbow. This is gonna be a 5 roll over here, which is probably my second best piece in my entire life. And this is gonna be another 5-piece, attack boots, which are going to be excellent. Also, another 5 row over here. So, whatever I want to, if I want to mix it up, I can always choose to do so, right? Depending on what environment we're in. I don't really care about the main sets that much. It's Firefly. Honestly, my Firefly has been kind of messing around over here and there. 155 speed. Honestly, I can drop this speed to around 150. It's no issues whatsoever. Break effect is E6S5, so I don't really care about my Firefly as much. Just 4-piece Luxasha. Sorry, 4-piece Iron Cavalry and 2-piece Cavalry. No questions whatsoever. My best break gears are now either dedicated to either Lingsha or Ramp Up, right? So they are essentially kind of all run the same gears. This shit looks completely messed up because I was kind of messing around. So this is also usually 4-piece Cavalry and 2-piece Cavalry, right? Don't really have too much to say. It is what it is. Cool. Jiao Qiu, I am rocking the 4-piece Eagle with 2-piece One Whack because I do want him to do the 0 cycles. Then I want to get his ultimate up as soon as possible. His ultimate is very, very cheap at only 100 energy cost. So running 4-piece Eagle on him is actually very, very comfortable. 151 energy with 131 EHR because we do have the EHR main stat on my Eagle with 6 speed, which is honestly a little bit lucky. So that is going to be there and not too much to say about as well. Topaz, same shit. I'm just rocking the 4-piece debuffer set actually. So this is going to be, where's the gear on Aircron? So if I want to do something like this, and we want to do something like this, switch this to the Topaz Light Cone, then it will be looking something like this, right? Honestly, not the best, not the worst. She's just there to kind of apply the debuffs and the supports, and then follow up Nambi attack frequencies. So for personal damage, I'm not too concerned with it by that much. Himeko Super Rig. This is the wrong relics. Essentially just copy your 4-piece Iron Cavalry and 2-piece Cavalry and you're done, right? DPS Himeko with crit Himeko, in my opinion, doesn't work anymore. Just run her Super Rig. And she genuinely just does a lot more damage, right? Break effect rope, random spheres, maybe attack sphere, fire sphere, whatever. And just focus it. Alright, Jingliu, same, 4-piece quantum. Not too much to be said here. It's legit 4-piece quantum slap on Jingliu, especially because she does have the defense down like cone. And we run her with Sparkle, it's another 24%. I do want to say I did get this absolutely insane crit damage chest with a 3 crit rate, which I'm now just using for Rainbow. So I'm quite happy with this if I want a 22% crit rate. But generally, I don't really use it that much anymore. Yanqing, same thing, 4-piece quantum, bam, bam, done. I have not used Japart and Baidu for a long time, so I'm not going to talk about them. Jingyuan, my honest to god, my Jingyuan rate is just dog shit. I do not have a good 4-piece follow-up set. I just either run Rainbow or 4-piece quantum, right? So that's going to be that. Blade Light Cone, honestly, I think my Blade is not too shabby. If we run no speed, that's going to be 77, 213, and 7.3k attack. If we do run speed boots, it would be looking a little bit like this. 122 with 85, 208, and 6k attack, right? Trying to hit 134 would be good. Otherwise, you can honestly just run Blade with Bronya, then Bronya just speed buff him up because you do have the E2, so it's not too big of a concern, right? So, yep. And also, if we were to run Sparkle, then it really doesn't matter that much. For Sparkle Blades, you can only just run HP Boots, then Sparkle buff up Blade, then Bronya bring up Blade again. So that's gonna be that. But also not using too much because nowadays Super Blade, then just run the same 4-piece Cavalry, 2-piece Cavalry, exact same if you run Super Blade, right? That's that bad. Bronya Sparkle, essentially they want to run the exact same. I have not been using the 175 speed Sparkle and Bronya for a long time because I don't really find myself needing it that much anymore. But if you want to, you definitely still can. I'm just kind of tuning them based on team comp I'm running them on. Whichever team comp will have different speed requirements, so I try to just adjust them as on the go. Nowadays, I'm running this 4-piece Eco with Bronya, and then the Sparkle is just random piece with the highest speed possible for 154. So that is pretty much it, right? So yeah, they are very, very volatile, so not too fixed. Fu Xuan, not too much to talk about. Scylla, the same 4-piece Quantum, so that's gonna be that. Silver 4-piece Eagle, right? And then that's gonna be that. Harmony Trailblazer I've mentioned before. And the rest of the side, I kind of just, yeah, it's basically it, right? Pella is just gonna be Rainbow with some speed and some EHR. And rare is nothing too crazy. Ting Yun, I tend to run the okay, this is not the right gloves. King Yun, we should look at 176. Yep, that's one. I do hit the 176.4 Ting Yun specifically. We've done Dance because this allows us to go 3 times in the very first turn, so it's 176.4 and above, right? 2.4k attack, 3k HP. So exactly where I am. I wouldn't want to get any more speed because it's exactly where I want it. I would rather have a little bit more attack, but it is what it is. So I am not too concerned with my Ting Yun. Aside from that, Chain Tree, I just 4-piece quantum, that's alright. So yeah, I think with that, I kind of just speed ran through my entire account and feature exactly what I have. Honestly, personally, if I were to give myself a grade, I probably give myself like a S-. I have some pretty good gears. I have a lot of good Eidolons, 2 key E6. Not quite at the best of the best, in my opinion. I definitely need to work better on my 4-piece sets. I need to start relying on the same 4-piece quantum since 2023. That's definitely something I can work on. If I can get a good new 4-piece Valerius, or the best in slot 4-piece break, or maybe in follow-up, or any of the new sets, I can bump myself up to S. But for now, since we are doing 0 cycles, we are doing like 0 cycle for Epoch Shadow and all that kind of stuff, it's very doable on my account. I'll give myself an S-, right? So neutrally speaking, feel free to agree or disagree. Leave down in the comments below what do you think of my account, right? So yeah, with that, we have come to the end of my very own MrPokke account review. I want to join your account review. Join our Discord, discord.gg/Pokke's Village, exclamation review, all that kind of stuff. Word of the day is gonna be Narcissist. Join Twitch, join YouTube, join Discord, join TikTok, and join Twitter. All the best for Gacha Cool. I'll see you guys next time. Okay.